Hello, everybody. Welcome to Horror Happy Hour because we could all use some company and a drink. I am Smokey Lyle. I see Sith Lord Mac in the chat. Already has the unofficial cutscene kitty emojis. He doesn't really hang out with me at the desk anymore ever since I put the space heater in, or started using the space heater this winter. He's kind of abandoned me. He lays in front of that instead. He doesn't need my lap warmth. So I didn't today I am still, all I have is Coke. It's not in a fancy glass though. And I've got a Pepsi on deck in my Yeti steel koozie thing that keeps it cold. And if you're drinking something special, let me know in the chat. I didn't quite have the gusto to do a stream Friday, but I figured Mondays are probably an equally appreciated day for happy hour. So if you got something, if you're drinking something special, let me know in the chat, and I will kick off. Which of these movies do I want to talk about first? You know what? It's not a movie, it's a show, so I'll talk about that first because I've got one show and several movies. There we go. The Creep Tapes is brand new on Shudder. It's been out, I think, for 2 weeks. There are 2 episodes, and I think the episodes come out on Fridays. And I just, over the weekend, caught up with it. Like I said, 2 episodes. So the movies, there are 2 movies, Creep and Creep 2. I'm not going to go into spoilers for the show, but the first movie, you'll probably get a little spoiled, but it's like 10 years old at this point, so I think I'm okay to do that. Basically, this guy, Mark Duplass's character, plays a serial killer whose like preferred murder kink is he tricks videographers into basically recording the lead up to their own murder. And the kind of hook that the Creep movies have is it's such an awkward, he's such an awkward guy. He is so weird and so awkward, and then he has these moments where he seems nice. He seems like, I don't know, it's normal but a little eccentric, and then he has these freak out moments, and by the end of the story, you can see it was all just this big, it's almost like he's trying to do things to get the people to bail, like and they never do, because he keeps giving them $1,000 every time they start to like waver in their, you know, like, I'm not sure I want to be here recording this for you, man. He like has $1,000 cash. So in the first movie, the conceit of it was he hired a videographer, and I can't remember, I think he was making, the story was he was making a video for his unborn child, I think, because he was dying. He had like a terminal disease, and so the unborn child wouldn't know him, and so it was like having that as his cover story gave him a huge amount of leeway with this camera guy that he hired to be weird, because, you know, if the guy is acting weird or emotionally unstable, that could be explained by the fact that he's dying soon. And of course, when Creep first came out, the very first Creep, you didn't really, I mean, you kind of know that there's something definitely wrong with this guy, but you don't realize that it's not just like some one-off thing. This guy literally has a closet full of snuff films that he got the victims to unwittingly film themselves. So it's a really, I think it's a unique premise for a serial killer. And then the second movie I won't go into because it's fairly newer and it plays out different. So it's worth watching. I wasn't sure how it was going to go because, once that story seal is broken, once you know what the kink is and what his game is, it takes a little bit of the tension away. But number 2 did a really good job at keeping it fresh. That being said, I was a little worried about this because this is a show. I think typically on Shudder, when you have a show, 8 to 10 episodes is, oh my god, this cat is obsessed with my microphone cables. Since I've been doing those like calm go to sleep readings, people have told me that like their ASMR preferred sound is cat purring, so I need to get some, because he purrs like a motor. I need to get some recording of him purring. But anyway, so I was a little worried starting this show. I was like, he struck gold with Creep, and he managed to keep the vein running with Creep 2. But surely, if you try to stretch it out into even more, not just more story, but more stories, individual stories. Each one of these episodes is a tape from his little closet collection. And I was like, how is he going to keep this fresh? And even the first episode starts out basically almost identical to the first movie. Camera guy comes up to the cabin, starts getting messed with, gets all kinds of hints that this guy isn't right. And then toward in the third act, like the final bit of the episode, they're less than 30 minutes. They're like 20, like how it would be if it was on TV with commercials, but the commercials were cut out just about that long, 23, 25 minutes. And the ending of the first episode, I feel like, even though, yeah, I've seen both the movies, I knew exactly what this was going to be about, it still felt fresh. And then I was like, if trying to look at it from the lens of someone who had not seen the Creep movies, because like I said, the first one is about 10 years old. I think the second one came out 2 years later, so they're not brand new. But if I was watching that episode for the first time and it was my first experience with Creep, period, I think my mind would have been pretty well blown. And also, it's really darkly funny. All of the movies were too. But so I was like, okay, that's good. That was really good. But how are you gonna keep that momentum going? Just continuously inviting videographers to your murder lodge, and then the second episode was completely different, and it shows that this murderer guy is not just a one-trick pony. He doesn't just say, videographer, why don't you come over to my house and tape me doing whatever interesting thing I've decided my personality is today. And the way he bonds with the videographers is so it's so believable. Like, it's easy to look at this guy and be like, if somebody was acting like that around me, I would get in my car and drive and not stop until I ran out of gas. But I don't know. He's not only is the killer, Mark Duplass's character, not only is he really believable in the universe of the show, but it's also very believable that the people, because he picks these people. He doesn't just go on a message board, look for a videographer, and whoever answers the call is the victim. He finds people who are the easiest ones, or maybe not the easiest ones, but the funnest ones to toy with before he kills them. And I think that comes across really well. Like I said, it's only been 2 episodes, but I have zero doubt that Creep Tapes is going to go down just extremely highly rated for a long time, I bet. I would be very willing to bet that. So, I did watch Alien Romulus, and I did like it. After watching it, I watched it, it was probably coming up on like a month ago now, I think. I watched it the night it became available for rentals and purchase. And of course I bought it, sight unseen. I hadn't even watched the trailer for it. I just knew, like, I have all the other Alien movies. I wanted to have all the Alien movies. I even have AVP, which, I mean, as I said last week. So, after I finished, I had just a swirling whirlwind of ideas as to what videos I could do. Did I want to try and get them in all in one video? Did I want to make different videos for each of the things that, like, you know, thematically, that way they're all under 20 minutes, you know, easily digestible? And I just couldn't get the gusto to do it. So I'm going to talk about it here, even though it wasn't something I watched within the last week. So, the very first thing that I thought when I was going to watch it was, I hope they don't use too much CG. Even up to Alien versus Predator, yeah. Aliens, Alien 3, Resurrection, AVP. Obviously AVP had some CG, but the xenomorph having a physical presence lends so much to the tension of the Alien movies just in general. Like, the first one was all just a guy in a xenomorph suit. The second one was a bunch of guys in xenomorph suits. And then the third one, there was some, I hesitate to call them CGI. I think they were like stop motion of the xenomorph runner in 3. But for the most part, practical effects, costume. Well, except for when it jumps out of the molten lead. That was definitely CG. But, I mean, that was right at the end of the movie. Anyway, and then Alien Resurrection, I think there are a couple points where it's CG, like when the xenomorphs are swimming. That is very clearly CG. But even the 4th movie in the franchise, understood. Part of what makes this franchise special is having physically present aliens. And unfortunately, Romulus didn't get the message. I am not entirely sure I think there is one moment, that I know for sure was a like a costumed person or a puppet or something. And it was for the classic alien, like turning the head and the xenomorph is here drooling. That they really like to do that in these movies. But other than that, it was a CGI fest. Like, you could just see, you could feel it. You could feel that they were just people pretending to be scared in a big green room. So that was pretty disappointing. Speaking of CG, there is I want to say cameo. It's not a cameo. The robot model that plays, or the Ash model of synthetic from the first movie. So the synthetic from the first movie. There is a model in Romulus, and it's like a CGI face on a real body, and it's not okay. They did not have to do that, and honestly, I don't understand why they did. Such an unnecessary, like, we know what synthetics are. There are a bunch of different synthetics. There's a synthetic that we've never seen before in the movie already before this point. And they just had to de-age and CG face the guy who played Ash in the first movie, and it was completely unnecessary. It could have been anyone's face. It did not have to be the same synthetic that we've seen so long ago. There were things I liked. I liked how some of the science behind the xenomorphs is explained. A lot of, I mean, basically all the movies up until this point didn't really explain much other than fast metabolisms, the facehuggers impregnate the chest bursters, gather victims, and the queens lay the eggs. But it went into a little bit more like the aliens don't seem to have eyes. The specifically the facehuggers don't seem to have eyes. So at one point, somebody with experience in the experiment that's happening on the Romulus space station goes into, okay, the facehuggers, this is how they sense prey. And that was really the first time in the series that's ever happened. It really, I wish it wasn't so much CG. I think I would have liked it a lot more and forgiven a lot more if there wasn't so much CG in it. Some very cool set pieces that, regardless of it being CG, they were good. I don't even so much mind environments being CG. It's the xenomorphs that I want to be real physical presences on screen. But some very smart foreshadowing for things that they would use to their advantage later, in not obvious ways. Once you look back at it, you're like, well, of course they're going to use that, but it's not obvious when the foreshadowing happens. I bought it for $30, and that was too much. But if you're a big Alien fan, I think this movie will be hard to hate. It will also be hard to love, but I think you will like it just fine. as long as you pay less than $30 for it. Okay, which one next? How about All You Need Is Death? Now, this one is very strange, and I think it's extra strange to me because I had no idea, and still have no idea, if this world that is shown in All You Need Is Death, if it even is a real thing, because it feels like it could be. Basically, it's about a couple who go around finding, it's almost like finding dead languages, but finding dead folk songs. So, like, the last person in a family line who knows a folk song. And they like sneakily record it. Like, they have a whole hidden mic system, and their partners, their boyfriend and girlfriend, and they like they act like, oh, we just want to hear it, our ears only, and then they record it in a secret like microphone hidden up the girl's sleeve, and then the boyfriend makes a big scene about the microphone, but they weren't there together. So he like takes the microphone and pretends to destroy the tape, and then they meet up later, just to like throw the person who was singing the song off the scent. And it's like, and the whole purpose is they have like a buyer, a buyer of these dead or nearly dead folk songs. And I like, there are people who are so into dead languages, and you know, it's almost, I guess, like being an archaeologist finding an artifact. So it is completely believable to me that there are people out there who do stuff like this, like whether it's clandestine or not, people who seek out folk songs that only exist in one place. But I don't know if it's real. But anyway, that's the premise. That's like the opening premise of the film. As it goes on, they find a song, and there's a bunch of subterfuge about recording it and tracking it down and all that stuff, and it turns out the song is cursed in a really weird way. And there's so much other weird stuff that goes on, like the family line where the song comes from has some problems, and I want to say I've never seen anything like it, and that is an accurate statement. But I've always liked movies where the actual words are cursed. One of my favorite zombie movies is Pontypool. And in Pontypool, the zombie virus is actually... it's never quite clear if it's transmitted or activated by certain words. But, like, it's an actual zombie virus that hinges on spoken language as a vector. And then, I mean, you've got all kinds of other movies like, your classic Cabin in the Woods story. You go down to the basement and you read the Latin, and the curses, the zombies come out, and, it's not an unheard of premise, but I think if it was just like, I don't know, boy accompanies girl to meet her family, and somebody sings a folk song, and then he starts getting all weird. or like cursed and whatnot, it wouldn't be as unique. But the fact that it either portrays or creates this world where folk songs are sought after commodities, that's what makes it unique. And I would recommend it because it's definitely horror. I think I want you to watch it so you can tell me if I missed anything, or like, are there really people who do the hunting down of folk songs and whatnot? Speaking of super unique, I want to say, while I couldn't say All You Need Is Death is wholly unique, I can tell you I Saw the TV Glow is wholly unique. There is nothing... Oh my gosh. There's a big Doberman in my front yard. What the hell? Hold on. I don't... Oh, I'm sure. Maybe it'll find its way. It's wearing a collar, so I'm thinking maybe it just got out of somebody's yard. I'm watching it on the cameras, by the way. That's odd. I know one of my neighbors has a Doberman, but I'm not sure if that's it. It's going back the way it came, so hopefully it's headed home. It just started snowing really hard too, so it's probably like, nah. Anyway, I Saw the TV Glow. Wholly unique. And practically impossible to explain. Oh, you know what? It's got a leash hanging off of it. I think it might have... I don't know. It's prancing around like a happy horse at the moment. I'm gonna go see if it comes up to me and see if it's got like a number on its collar or something. I will be right back. Which one of these can I use for... Oh, well, that's not gonna work. I'll just put back on the countdown. Be right back. Okay. I got out there, and it was gone. I don't know where it went. Hopefully back home. Anyway, yeah, this one's really hard to explain, and for it being so utterly unique, I give it a lot of extra credit, I think. I don't want to say anything about it because it is good and it's worth watching, but I don't want to spoil any of the things. So let me do a vibe description of it. It's like John dies at the end, but deeply, deeply serious. Like, this is not a funny movie. John Dies at the End was hilarious. But, yeah, I do really get a John Dies at the End kind of, like, stuff isn't as it seems, and once you know, you can't unsee it kind of thing. Give it a try. Give it a try. I think it's on, I think it's on HBO Max. I think that's where I saw it. So far, all of these have been 2024. Yeah. Let's see. We did Creep. I said TV Glow. All you need is Death, Alien, robbing us. Okay. So now I watched a couple goofy things from this year too. Mr. Crockett is basically, he finds children who are either actually being abused or think they're being abused, like oh, my dad's so mean kind of stuff, even though the kid was the dick. I'm just gonna say it. The kid in the movie is he's obviously like neurodivergent, but oh my god, I would eat this kid for dinner. This kid is the worst kid. Anyway, this guy, he's basically like a demonic force that's in a VHS tape. And when he finds a family whose parents he wants to punish and child he wants to abduct into his little underworld, his little pocket universe, he manifests the tape at their house or just in their life somewhere, and then he like crawls out of their TV. A lot more violent than I was expecting. In fact, from this poster kind of thing, I'd seen it in the Hulu horror section a couple times, and I'd scrolled past it because I was like, that looks like somebody messed up and put a movie in a category it's not supposed to be in, because you can really only tell it's horror if you look really close at his hands, and he's got blood on his hands. So, yeah, I only just got around to watching it. It's been out for a couple months because it's Halloween, so it would have been during the Halloween season. Yeah, surprisingly violent. And I was really excited because it seemed like with the first kill that you see in the movie, it seems like he's an ironic killer. So like he finds there's a kid whose stepdad is trying to force feed him his vegetables because he needs to eat his vegetables, and so Mr. Crockett pops out of the TV and like tries to force feed the stepdad food, but it's like horrible, rotten, nasty horror food. And the dad won't eat it, so he like cuts his stomach open and starts shoving the food in the stomach hole. So I was like, ooh, are we going to do ironic kills? Because I love ironic kills. It's one of my favorite kind of kills. And Yeah, it was. It didn't turn out to be the case, but it was still good. And like I said, surprisingly violent. Not super funny. I think it tried to be a little funny at times, but it wasn't really funny. I don't know. If you've got Hulu, it's not. I'm not going to tell you not to watch it. And then, as always, I watched a really dumb. Like, this one wasn't fully dumb. It's got a goofy-looking premise, but it was genuinely, like, you know, someone's abducting children and whatnot, so, you know, take it seriously. But this one, Slotherhouse, is dumb all the way through. So the lead wants to run for her sorority president. Are they presidents in sorority? I literally just watched this 2 days ago. I think they're presidents. Sorority president? Anyway, she wants to, and she adopts a cute sloth as the house mascot, and in order to get social media clout. You know what? Slotherhouse was 2023, wasn't it? I can't remember. Hold on. Yes. Slotherhouse was last year, but I just saw it for the first time. So, you know, that's the deal. Everything is practical. There may have been a couple exceptions for big movements and scenes that needed a lot of stuff to happen at once. But the sloth is a puppet throughout the whole movie. Sloth is puppet. And all the gore is practical. I mean, I kind of giggled here and there. That's what this movie is basically for. It was mostly regarding the puppet that I laughed, because they did a really good job with animating, and when I say animating, I mean putting in manipulatable facial features, like animating the face, because like I said, it's a puppet. They did a really good job around the eyes to convey emotions. And also, they didn't try and explain anything. Aside from the sloth at the very beginning is poached. So it's kidnapped from Panama. It's home. And that's why it's pissed. But it can like work phones and stuff. Like, it has its own social media account, Killer Sloth. I think it's Killer Sloth, and it like takes selfies and hashtags them. It's so stupid, but I loved it. Loved it is strong, but I genuinely enjoyed it, and I would watch it again. I might watch it again. It definitely feels like something that you want to watch with somebody else, though. This would be like a great group popcorn and beer kind of movie. I think that would be quite enjoyable. And next time I watch it, it will probably be to show somebody it. That's just how I roll, though. And then finally, I actually watched something I had missed way back in 2020. The Stranger. For some reason, with how Hulu was, because it's a Hulu original, I think, but with how, episodes. Why does it say it's 13 episodes? It's a movie. Huh. Well, that's interesting. Just finding out that I think perhaps it started out as a show 8 minutes. It was like a micro show. That is so weird. Maybe it wasn't Hulu. Maybe it was that. Maybe that's why I missed it. What was that app? The video app that specialized in micro shows. They did one for the Most Dangerous Game with Christoph Waltz and Liam Hemsworth, I think. God, I don't remember what that app was called, but it specialized in shows where the episodes were like 5 to 10 minutes long. I wonder if that's why I had never heard of this. It was because it was on that app. Anyway, it's got Micah Monroe in it. Micah Monroe is probably best known as Jay in It Follows. She was also in... Oh, is it Watcher or The Watcher? I think it's The Watcher. And it's not the Netflix one. It's a movie about basically Micah Monroe feeling like she's being stalked by a guy in an apartment across and slightly up from her building. So, like, apartment buildings across the street from each other and whatnot. And then she was also in, I think it was last year. I don't think it was this year. I don't think it's that new, but Significant Other. Ooh. She's a really really showing an affinity for playing the heroine in horror movies where she's specifically being stalked. Like, It Follows, it's like a demonic thing that is literally always taking steps closer and closer to you, no matter where you or it is in the world. The Watcher, she's being stalked by a guy across the way. The Stranger, the one I watched, she is not just being stalked, but like psychologically tormented by a hacker. And the guy in it, the guy who plays the hacker, Dane DeHaan, he is the younger brother from Chronicle. And in Chronicle, the younger brother starts out like he's the protagonist. He's the underdog. He's the one you want to, you know, have a good time. You're the one you want him to come into his... Oh, Jesus. Man, I don't know. Uh-oh. Hold on. Okay. Sorry about that. I think I was getting a text, and my it happens sometimes with microphones, like getting wireless signals around a microphone. But anyway, he turns into the villain of Chronicle, and it's very good and scary and believable. And he starts off as the villain in The Stranger, and he's good and scary and believable. I really liked it. It's longer than I thought it would be, and I guess that's because it was episodic, so that might be why the runtime kind of played out longer than I thought it would. But yeah, and then so I mean, I really like Micah Monroe, so I'll watch basically anything with her in it. I watched God is a Bullet. I didn't really like that one very much, but it also wasn't horror. It was kind of like drama, I hesitate to call it John Wick because the action was so few and far in between. But, yeah. Anyway, that's what I did. That's what I did in horror. I did not play any games. I haven't really been in the mood for gaming, but I did get a game called Void Rot, which is like a Lovecraftian Metroidvania, and so I'm hoping to do some Let's Plays or some streams about that. But anyway, so yeah, I watched The Stranger, which is from 2020, Slotherhouse, which was from last year, Mr. Crockett's this year. I saw the TV Glow, All You Need Is Death, Alien Romulus, and the Creep Tapes. Creep Tapes definitely win the weekly, if I was to do a weekly award for best thing I watched in horror. Creep Tapes on Shudder. Like I said last week, Shudder should sponsor me. So yeah, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching and or listening. Once again, just under an hour, so keeping the happy hour theme. Oh yeah, and I have a new background. I'm not sure how I feel about the 3D brick texture, because as you can see on the top, they're kind of shiny. And I was hoping they would be matte. So I don't know if maybe I can get some matte black paint and paint them so they're not shiny. But I like the picture. The picture's good. Picture's very good. Yeah. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time. I don't know what the next thing for the channel is going to be. Probably Void Rot, because I'm excited to play that. It looks like a lot of fun. But yeah, this week's recommendation: Creep Tapes. Get Shudder, and Shudder sponsor me. Thanks.